I held it in my hands, feeling the weight of everything it contained. Everything I'd hidden. Everything I'd protected. Everything I was about to walk away with. And as I looked at it, a question formed in my mind. A question so sharp it cut straight through the last piece of loyalty I'd been holding on to. Why am I living in a house where they treat me like a burden, when I could disappear and never have to answer to anyone again? The answer was so simple it scared me. Because I thought they loved me. Because I believed love still meant something in that house. Because I was clinging to memories that didn't match reality. But reality was staring me right in the face. That night, in the dim light of my bedroom, I made a decision that would change everything. I packed a small bag. Just a few clothes. Just the essentials. Nothing that would make a sound. Then I slipped the envelope into my purse. I walked to the front door. I looked back once. Just once. And I whispered, "You'll understand one day, but by then I won't be here to explain." Then I stepped outside. And the house I had lived in, sacrificed for, and drowned in, became nothing but a dark, silent silhouette behind me. But as I walked down that driveway with the weight of $300 million in my purse, one thought burned its way through me so fiercely that it lit the entire night sky. This wasn't an escape. This was the beginning of revenge. And if you think walking out was the shocking part, wait until you hear what happened next. Because the moment I disappeared, the people who treated me like nothing started to realize they'd lost everything. And that's where the real story begins. Because what happened after I walked away, what Leo discovered the next morning, what he did, and what he hid, would rip open secrets none of us were prepared for. The thing about leaving isn't the leaving itself, it's what happens the moment they notice the silence you leave behind. And that silence, the one I left for Leo, was the loudest sound he had ever heard in his life. Because when the sun rose the next morning and my son walked downstairs expecting breakfast, expecting the house clean, expecting me to still be there like some unpaid, unbreakable servant, he found nothing but an empty chair and a cold kitchen. I wasn't there to ask him how he slept, I wasn't there to make his coffee, I wasn't there to remind him of the man he once was. I wasn't there at all. But before we get to his reaction, let me take you to where I went. Because the moment I stepped out of that house, I wasn't lost. I wasn't confused. I wasn't broken. I had a plan. I went straight to the old bus station on Willow Street, the one where people only go when they want to disappear without leaving a mark. I stood there in the cold morning air, my breath fogging out in front of me, my heart beating calmly for the first time in years. I felt light. Too light. Like I wasn't carrying 61 years of disappointments anymore. The bus pulled up, white, scratched, barely holding itself together. I stepped inside with my small bag. No one looked at me. No one cared. And for the first time in my life, that felt perfect. I sat in the very back, held onto my purse, and kept my hand over the envelope. That envelope was my real freedom. I rode for an hour, maybe more. The bus chugged through towns I'd never heard of, past empty fields, past quiet neighborhoods, past people who would never know my name, never judge me, never demand anything from me. Eventually, I got off in a small town called Lambert Creek. A forgotten place with one diner, one motel, and more birds than people. And I smiled, because I didn't need luxury. I didn't need comfort. I needed distance. I needed silence. I needed time to think. I checked into the Lambert Creek Motel, paying cash so my name wouldn't ping anywhere. Then I locked myself in the tiny room, floral curtains, dusty carpet, bed harder than a pile of bricks, and sat on the edge. I pulled out the envelope. And I opened it. Inside was the letter I'd received 3 months earlier, a letter so surreal that even now, my hands shook slightly as I unfolded it. A letter informing me that after decades of silence, after the life I built alone, after raising Leo with nothing but grit and love, someone had left me an inheritance. Someone worth hundreds of millions. Someone who had been watching me from afar. Someone whose existence I had never, ever known about. But before I tell you who, we need to go back to the house. Because while I was staring at that letter in a motel room that smelled faintly of mildew and lost dreams, Leo was discovering a nightmare of his own. And that part is important. Because it showed me who he truly was. Leo woke up around 9 a.m., yawning like a man who believed comfort was his birthright. He walked downstairs expecting everything to be the same. But when he entered the kitchen, he froze. The dishes from last night were still in the sink. The counters weren't wiped. The house smelled like the dinner from the night before. And the bathroom. He checked, it wasn't cleaned. He stood there, confused. Not worried. Not concerned. Just inconvenienced. "Mom," he called, but no answer. He tried again. "Mom." Seriously. When silence answered him back, he rolled his eyes. Not with fear, not with love, but with frustration. He didn't think, "Is she okay?" He didn't think, "Did something happen to her?" He thought, "Where the hell did she go?" And that told me everything about who he had become. He searched the house lazily, almost annoyed that he had to put in effort. Living room? Empty. Laundry room? Empty. Backyard? Empty. But when he went into my bedroom, that's when things cracked for him. My nightstand drawer was open. The envelope, gone. And his entire body stiffened. He knew something, he knew exactly what envelope was missing. And that tells you something, doesn't it? Leo wasn't clueless. He wasn't blind. He had known about the envelope. He had known about the inheritance. And he had been waiting. Watching. Testing how much control he still had over me. He whispered under his breath. "Damn it." He sat on my bed, elbows on his knees, rubbing his forehead like the world was punishing him for something he deserved. He checked his phone. Waited a few seconds. Then called someone. And the way he spoke. It made my blood turn to ice even from miles away. "She's gone," he said. "She took it." A pause. "No, she didn't tell me. She just left." Another pause. Yeah, I know. But we need that money, Ben. Ben. His friend. His secret. His shadow. I didn't know Ben. But the moment Leo said his name, I understood everything. Leo wasn't just being rude, he wasn't just treating me poorly, he wasn't just testing me for dominance. He was preparing. Preparing for the money he thought he'd inherit. Preparing for the life he believed he deserved. Preparing for the wealth he assumed would fall into his lap. And when he realized I took the envelope, Leo panicked. Because his life, the life he planned without my knowledge, depended on that inheritance. And here's the part that still stings. He didn't worry that I was missing, he worried that the money was missing. He worried about losing something he never earned. While he was pacing in my bedroom, trying to figure out where I went, I was sitting in a motel room reading the letter again, letting the truth finally settle. The inheritance wasn't from a distant cousin, it wasn't from some old business partner, it wasn't from anyone I ever knew. It was from Leo's real father. A man I had met only once, a man who didn't even know I had given birth, a man who had died 3 months ago. And when his lawyers found me, when they confirmed the DNA, when everything fell into place, they told me something that shattered everything I thought I knew. He had built an empire, a global one, left behind properties, companies, accounts filled with wealth beyond imagination. And he left it, to me. Not to Leo. Not to anyone else. To me. And suddenly everything made sense. Why Leo treated me like nothing. Why he thought he had control. Why he kept checking my drawers, my mail, my room. Why he asked strange questions about staying and cleaning the house. He thought the money was coming to him. He thought I was a stepping stone to a fortune. He thought I was weak enough to let him take it. But he didn't know who he was dealing with. Because the woman he thought he owned had walked away with everything. And the moment that realization hit him, the moment he slammed my bedroom door and cursed loud enough to shake the whole house, that was the moment my revenge began working all on its own. Not because I planned it that way, but because the truth always exposes the cracks. While Leo spiraled, trying to figure out how to find me, I picked up the motel phone and dialed the number on the letter. The lawyer answered. And when he heard my voice, he said, "Ms. Guji, We've been waiting for your call. I assume you're ready to proceed. I took a slow breath. Yes, I said. I'm ready. He paused, then asked carefully, and does your son know anything? I looked at the peeling motel wallpaper and whispered, not anymore. And that's how everything truly began. Because when I drove toward the law firm hours later, ready to sign papers that would transfer hundreds of millions into my control, Leo and Ben were already plotting something dark, something desperate, something I never imagined my own son could do. And when I found out what they planned behind my back, that's when my real revenge became unavoidable. And trust me, what they tried to do next will leave your hands shaking. The thing about a son who starts plotting behind your back is that he always believes he's smarter than you. But he also forgets one important truth. The person who raised him knows every shadow he hides in. And as I walked into that law firm, far away from the house Leo once controlled like a king, I felt something shift inside me. A quiet strength. A sharpened awareness. A realization that I wasn't the same woman who scrubbed his bathroom while he scrolled through his phone. I wasn't the mother he thought he could manipulate. I wasn't the woman whose silence he mistook for weakness. I was someone new. Someone dangerous. Someone with power. When I stepped into the marble lobby, the receptionist looked up with polite surprise, as if she didn't expect the woman from the wrinkled ID photo to look so steady. So calm. So ready. She said, Ms. Guji, they're expecting you. And those words, they're expecting you, felt like the first true acknowledgement of my worth in years. Not, Mom, clean the bathroom. Not, Mom, you missed a spot. Not, Mom, where's dinner? But Ms. Guji, a person with her own identity, her own presence, her own power. The lawyer, Mr. Harland, greeted me with a firm handshake and a look that said he understood I had lived a life made of storms. He gestured toward a long oak table filled with papers that would transfer everything to me. Everything. He waited for me to sit, then said gently, before we continue, are you safe? And that question, asked by a man who barely knew me, hit harder than anything Leo had said in years. Because for the first time, someone recognized that safety wasn't just about physical protection. It was about emotional captivity, financial dependence, a lifetime of being taken for granted. Yes, I said, though I wasn't entirely sure. I'm safe. He studied me for a moment. Your son cannot challenge these documents, he said. He has no legal tie to his biological father. You are the sole heir. Once everything is signed, the assets become untouchable. Untouchable, a word Leo had never allowed me to feel. I nodded. I'm ready. But halfway through signing the final document, Mr. Harlan's assistant rushed in, pale and trembling. Sir, there's something you should know. He whispered something into the lawyer's ear, and the lawyer's face drained of color. He leaned toward me and said, Ms. Guji, your son is here. My hand froze mid-signature. I didn't need to look outside the conference room to know exactly what expression he wore. He wasn't worried, he wasn't frightened, he wasn't here to make sure I was okay. He was here because he sniffed the money. The lawyer whispered, do you want us to remove him? Security is available. But I didn't answer immediately, because my mind began replaying the phone call Leo made to someone named Ben, the one where he said, we need that money. Need. Not want. Not hope for. Need. What kind of need? What kind of debt? What kind of danger was he tangled in? Inside the law firm lobby, I heard Leo's voice, sharp, raised, impatient. My mother's here. Just tell me where she is. Every word dripped with entitlement, as if he were demanding a misplaced suitcase. I looked at the lawyer and said, bring him in. He blinked. Are you sure? Yes. I want to hear what he has to say. Because sometimes the best revenge is letting someone reveal their own character in front of witnesses. Leo stormed into the room, breathing hard, eyes wild with frustration. His gaze went straight to the papers on the table, then to the pen in my hand, then to my face. Mom, he snapped. What the hell are you doing? I didn't flinch. Signing what belongs to me. He laughed, a short bitter sound. You're seriously doing this? Without talking to me? You never asked me if I was okay, I replied quietly. Why should I ask you before making my own choices? His face twisted, a mixture of disbelief and anger he didn't know how to hide. You can't just disappear. You scared me. And I almost laughed, because we both knew fear wasn't why he came. You weren't scared, I said. You were worried the money wouldn't find its way to you. His jaw clenched. What money? He looked directly at the lawyer, then the documents, pretending ignorance. But his eyes betrayed everything. He had known for months. He had been waiting for the right moment to take control. Mr. Harland stepped forward. Mr. Leo, this meeting does not concern you. Leo turned his anger toward him. She's my mother. Everything she has is mine. That's how families work. And that was the moment. The moment I realized he didn't see me as a mother, he didn't see me as a person. He saw me as a resource. A tool. A path. And when he realized he wasn't on that path anymore, his voice dropped low, almost threatening. Mom, you need to stop and listen to me. I've listened my entire life, I said. It's your turn. He stepped closer, lowering his voice even more. You don't understand what you're doing. Ben and we're in trouble. Big trouble. And that money. It's our way out. So there it was. The truth. The desperation. The motive. What kind of trouble? I asked. He swallowed hard. Debt. What kind of debt? Silence. The dangerous kind. Then he whispered, we owe people who don't forgive. My heart tightened. He had gotten himself into something dark. Something reckless. Something deadly. But instead of apologizing, instead of showing remorse, instead of admitting how far he'd fallen, he glared at me and said, you ever feel the kind of silence that doesn't just surround you, but squeezes you, reminding you that you don't truly belong in the very place you built with your own hands? Because that's exactly how I felt sitting at that dinner table, watching the people I loved pretend I was just another piece of old furniture. And you, sitting there listening to me right now. You're going to wonder why a woman like me, a 61-year-old nobody named Guji, didn't walk away years earlier. But maybe you'll understand when I tell you what really happened. Maybe you'll see why a quiet old woman can turn into something far sharper when she's pushed to the edge. And before we go any deeper, you tell me, where are you joining us from and what time is it over there? Because trust me, you'll want to remember exactly where you were when you heard how all of this began. You're probably guessing I'm just another grandmother figure with soft eyes and a gentle voice, someone who bakes cookies and forgives people who don't deserve forgiveness. But that's where you're wrong. I wasn't always this quiet. I wasn't always this patient. Life carved patience into me like someone carving their name into a tree, slowly, painfully, and permanently. And the truth. My story starts long before that dinner. It starts with mistakes I made, sacrifices I buried, and secrets I didn't even know were mine. But I'll let those unravel as we go. For now, let me take you back to the moment that set everything in motion. My son Leo sat across from me that night, the way he always did, slouched, tapping his foot, checking his phone like every minute spent with me was some kind of punishment. He's 41, but he carries himself like a man who thinks the world owes him a crown he never earned. And I watched him, the same way I've watched him since he was little, searching for signs of the boy he used to be. The boy who used to hold my hand and call me his strong mama. But all I saw was a man who'd forgotten the woman who gave him every piece of herself. There was this strange heaviness in the room, the kind that makes your breath feel thick. And something inside me, something old, tired and bruised, kept whispering that tonight wasn't going to be like the others. Tonight would be different. Tonight would be the night everything cracked open. I looked at the table I had set, the food I'd cooked, the care I had poured into a meal no one ever thanked me for. It was a simple dinner, roast chicken, vegetables, mashed potatoes, everything Leo liked when he was younger. I always remembered what he liked. Mothers don't forget those things. But sons do. Leo didn't look up until halfway through his plate, and even then, he didn't look at me. He looked at the corner of the room, like the thought he was about to throw at me didn't deserve eye contact. "Mom," he said, chewing loudly, "did you clean the downstairs bathroom today?" His voice had that tone. That cold, clipped tone that said he wasn't asking. He was checking if I'd done what he expected. I felt the first crack. The soft, painful kind. I told him calmly, "No, Leo. I didn't get around to it today." He didn't say thank you. He didn't say no problem. He didn't even sigh. He just continued eating like the conversation hadn't even mattered. But something was off. Something about the way he asked. Something about the way he kept his voice so cold. So distant. So entitled. And as I took another bite, I felt that cold wave wash over me. You know the kind, the one that warns you, something unexpected is walking toward you, and it's not coming slowly. A few minutes passed. Silence stretched. The kind of silence that makes the ground feel thin beneath your feet. Then Leo asked again, "Did you clean the bathroom today?" The same exact words. Same tone. Same distance. My fork froze in my hand. I blinked. "Leo, I heard you the first time." He nodded like someone marking a checklist. Cold. Mechanical. A man performing a role he thought he was entitled to. It wasn't a question. It was a test. And you want to know something? When a child tests their parent, it cuts far deeper than when a stranger does. Because it's a reminder that love, the love you gave so freely, can be flipped and weaponized. I could feel something building inside me, a pressure I hadn't felt in years. Something old and sharp, something I thought I buried when Leo grew up and stopped needing me. But he wasn't done. Not even close. 5 minutes later, when the plates were nearly clean, when the air felt heavy enough to fall out of the sky, he looked directly at me for the first time that night. "Mom," he said slowly, "I asked you to clean the bathroom today." Not a question. Not even a reminder, a command from a man who saw his mother as a maid. You ever feel your pulse slow down instead of speed up? The kind of cold calm that isn't calm at all, but something darker? That's what washed over me. And in that moment, a thought slipped into my mind so quietly, so dangerously, it almost scared me. A thought that made my hands stop trembling and my breath grow steady. This isn't your home. This is your cage. And he thinks he owns you. I swallowed my anger like poison and asked, "Leo, why are you asking me the same thing 3 times?" He didn't even blink. "Because," he said, "you live here. You should keep the place clean if you want to stay." Stay. The way he said stay made something curl inside me. Like he was allowing me a place in the home I bought. The home I built. The home I paid for. But he didn't know what happened 3 months ago. He didn't know the letter I was hiding. He didn't know the unbelievable, unimaginable truth sitting quietly in my nightstand drawer. He didn't know the $300 million secret burning a hole through my entire life. And you're probably wondering, why didn't I tell him? Why would I hide something like that from my own son? You'll see why. You'll understand soon enough. You'll understand why silence can sometimes be sharper than shouting. And why some secrets deserve to sit in the shadows until the perfect moment to strike. But right then, in that moment, as his words hit me like a slap I'd been waiting years to receive, I realized something terrifying. Leo wasn't asking about the bathroom. He was asserting dominance. He was measuring how small I'd let myself become. He wanted to see if I would break. But I didn't break. Something far, far more dangerous happened instead. I smiled. A cold, quiet smile that he didn't even notice. And I said, "I'll take care of it later." But I had no intention of doing anything of that sort. Because the moment he stood up and left the room, I felt something inside me shift. Something final. Something irreversible. It felt like a door locked inside me. Not from the outside, but from within. And once it locked, the woman he thought he controlled simply ceased to exist. I waited until I heard him walking upstairs. Waited until the house settled into that nighttime quiet, The kind that hides every secret in its corners. Waited until the moment felt just right, the way a storm feels right before the first lightning bolt hits. Then I stood up from the table. I pushed my chair back. Slowly, silently, I walked to my bedroom. And I opened the nightstand drawer. There it was. The envelope. The one I never thought I'd touch again. The one with the signature that changed my entire world. The one that held the truth my son never deserved to know. So you need to sign those papers and give us access. It's only fair. Fair. A word he had never applied to my life. I looked straight into his eyes. Leo, I didn't walk away from you because of the money. I walked away because you stopped seeing me as your mother. He scoffed. This isn't the time for feelings. We need the money now. And just like that, he confirmed the one truth I had tried so hard to deny. He loved the money more than he loved me. Mom, he said, voice sharp. You owe me this. No, no, I didn't. I owed him nothing. Before I could speak, Mr. Harlan stepped forward. Ms. Goodgie, if you would like to proceed, we can finalize the signatures now. Leo's head snapped toward the lawyer. Back off. She's not signing anything. But Mr. Harlan didn't flinch. Legally, you have no authority here. Leo's breathing quickened. His hands curled into fists. His voice raised a notch too loud. You don't get it, he said. If she doesn't give me that money, bad things will happen. To me. To her. To all of us. He wasn't threatening me, he was telling the truth. And that made everything more dangerous. Because desperation makes people unpredictable. And unpredictable people do things you never see coming. I signed the document. The last signature. The final line. The end of Leo's imagined future. And the beginning of my real freedom. Leo stared at the signed papers, shock overriding his anger. You actually signed it, he whispered. You really signed it. Yes, I said. I did. Mom, you don't understand what you've just done. Oh, I replied softly. I understand more than you think. And that moment, right there, was when he snapped. Not loudly. Not violently. But silently. His eyes darkened. His posture stiffened. His voice flattened. Fine, he said. If that's how you want to do this, then you leave me no choice. He turned and walked out of the room. No yelling, no begging, no anger. Just quiet. Cold. Calculated. And that scared me more than anything else he had said. Because a son who stops shouting is a son who starts scheming. When he walked out of the law firm, I heard him say one sentence into his phone. The one sentence that told me my life was about to spiral into a storm I never prepared for. He said, Ben. She signed it. Do it tonight. Do what? Do it to whom? Do it where? Those questions echoed in my mind like thunder. Because whatever he planned, whatever he set in motion, whatever he was willing to unleash, he wasn't just coming for the money. He was coming for me. And what happened next turned this story from revenge into survival. Tom's face went pale the moment he opened the envelope I handed him. He blinked once. Then again. Then a third time, as if he needed his own brain to reboot before accepting reality. I just stood there, arms folded, leaning on my cane like the oak tree I had become. Old, rooted, impossible to push over. You got this from the trash, he whispered, voice cracking. Not the trash, I corrected. Your mother's secret drawer. I've known that woman longer than you've known how to spell your own name. She hides everything in predictable places. Tom stepped back, his breath hitching. Goodgie. This is my birth record. But, why does it list? Because your mother, I interrupted, has been lying to you your entire life. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence that crawled across the carpet like fog. He sank onto the edge of the couch, gripping the document until it crumpled in his shaking hands. She told me Dad left before I was born, he whispered. She said he didn't want me. She told me I was a mistake. My jaw tightened. She told you a lot of things. That doesn't make any of them true. His Adam's apple bobbed. He was swallowing tears he didn't want me to see. She told me you were only helping because you pitied me. Because you were lonely. Because I reminded you of the son you lost. I closed my eyes for a moment. The pain hit deep. It always did when that topic surfaced. She weaponized your grief, he continued quietly. She made me think you were fragile. I snorted. Fragile. Me. Let that woman try to hit me with her car again. I'll flip her bumper with my bare hands. That pulled a broken laugh out of him. Good. He needed it. But the laughter died just as quickly, replaced by something new, determination. Guji. I need to know the truth. All of it. You will, I said softly. But not here. Not under her roof. Not under her lies. He nodded, hands trembling. Come, I said, motioning toward the door. We're going somewhere she can't interrupt. Where? He asked. I smiled. To the person who loved you before you were even born. He stared. Confused. Hopeful. Terrified. Then he understood. You mean? Yes, I said. Your real father. He inhaled sharply. Is he alive? Alive, I said. And very much unaware that he has a son. Tom staggered back, clutching the wall like the air had punched him. Why didn't anyone tell him? Why would she hide me from him? I tapped my cane twice on the floor. A nervous habit, but also a promise. You're about to learn exactly why. The drive across town was tense, silent, electric. Every street light flickered across Tom's face, revealing the storm inside him. When we reached the small brick house on the corner of Briar Lane, he froze. Here, he whispered. Yes, I said. This is where he lives. Tom swallowed hard. Does he know you? Know me? I scoffed. I babysat both of your parents when they were children. I've known them longer than they've known each other. He exhaled slowly, shaking out his hands. I don't know if I'm ready for this. You are, I said firmly. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be brave enough to knock. He hesitated, then stepped forward and raised his fist. But the door opened before he touched it. A tall man with salt and pepper hair and warm hazel eyes stared at us in confusion. Guji, he breathed. Is that really you? Harlan, I said with a soft smile. It's been a long time. His eyes shifted to Tom, lingered, widened, froze. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Tom's face was a mirror of the man standing in the doorway. Harlan's lips parted, his hand trembling as he lifted it slightly toward Tom's cheek, then stopped, unsure. Harlan choked on a breath. He looks like. Yes, I said gently. He does. Tom's voice cracked. Are you my father? The man stumbled back against the doorframe, tears springing to his eyes faster than he could blink. I was never told. Guji, I didn't. If I had known. I know, I said. That's why we're here. Tom's shoulders collapsed. He let out a shaky breath. I don't blame you. I need answers. Harlan opened the door fully. Then come in. Both of you. Please. Inside, the house smelled faintly of cedar and cinnamon. A fireplace crackled softly in the corner. Photos lined the walls, none of them with children. You live alone? Tom asked quietly. For a long time now, Harlan replied. Your mother and I. We were young. Impulsive. We broke up after one fight. I didn't even know she was pregnant. She disappeared, changed her number, moved to another town before I could even try to fix things. He rubbed his face, overwhelmed. I thought she just wanted to move on. I didn't know she took you with her. Tom sat down slowly, his movements shaky. She made me think my dad abandoned us. Harlan swallowed a sob. I would have moved mountains to be in your life. I watched the moment unfold. Raw, honest, heartbreaking. Then Tom asked the question I knew was coming. Why would she hide me from you? Harlan's eyes darkened. Because she didn't want to lose control. And she hated the idea of co-parenting. She hated compromise. Everything had to be her way. Tom nodded slowly. That sounds like her. But it doesn't matter now, I said quietly. What matters is that the truth is out. Harlan slowly reached out toward Tom's hand. If you'll let me. I want to know you. I want to make up for lost time. All of it. Tom hesitated. Then he took his father's hand. And something inside him finally shifted. But peace? No. This story had too much poison for peace to last. Because while the three of us talked about childhoods, memories, questions, regrets, we didn't know who had followed us. We didn't know whose headlights were parked a block away. We didn't know who was gripping a steering wheel with white knuckles, seething, shaking, panting like a cornered animal. We didn't know who had watched us enter Harlan's house. We didn't know she had seen everything. We didn't know she had heard enough to confirm her worst fear. Her son had learned the truth. And she was not about to let that truth destroy the world she built out of manipulation, guilt, and control. So she got out of her car, slammed the door, marched toward the house. Each step was a declaration of war. Inside, Tom was asking another careful question when bang, bang, bang. 3 fists point one door. A hurricane behind it. Tom froze mid-sentence. Harlan stiffened. I pressed my lips together and muttered, "Here comes the devil herself." Tom swallowed. "Do we answer it?" "No," I said. "We let her knock again." She did. Harder. Unhinged. Desperate. "Thomas," she screeched. "Open this door right now." Harlan flinched. Good God, she sounds the same. Tom stood, heart pounding. She followed us. No, I corrected. She hunted us. The banging grew louder. Frenzied. "Open this door or I swear I will." I stepped forward and yanked the door open before she could finish. She stumbled inward with the force of her own fist. And there I was, face to face with the woman who had tormented her son for decades. Her mascara was smeared. Her eyes were feral. Her lips trembled with fury. "You," she hissed. "You tricked him. You stole him from me. You." I leaned my cane against the doorframe. "Finish that sentence," I said calmly, "and I will make sure the next time you lie about me, you'll have no teeth to do it with." Her mouth snapped shut. Behind me, Tom whispered, "Mom, please stop." She shoved past me and pointed at him like a dagger. "You are my son. Mine. You cannot talk to him." She jabbed a finger toward Harlan. "And you, how dare you pretend you're his father?" I slammed my cane on the floor. Once. The sound cracked like a gunshot. Everyone froze. "You," I said, voice low and sharp, "are done speaking. Now you will listen." But she wasn't listening. She was unraveling. "You're poisoning him against me," she shrieked. "You want to take him away. I gave up everything for him. I sacrificed everything." Tom snapped. "You sacrificed nothing." The room fell silent. Tom's chest heaved. Tears spilled down his face. His voice shook, but the truth finally broke free. "You made my life miserable. You controlled everything I did. You insulted me. You guilted me. You made me feel worthless every single day." She stepped back, stunned. Tom continued, louder. "And you lied to me about my father. You didn't lose him. You stole me from him." Harlan covered his mouth with a trembling hand. Her face contorted. "I did it for you. No, he roared. "You did it for control. Because you wanted to own me." Her knees wobbled. Tom looked at her with a new kind of exhaustion. A new kind of freedom. "I'm done," he said quietly. You don't get to control me anymore. She shook her head violently. Thomas. No, no, you can't leave me. I'm not leaving you, he said softly. But I'm not letting you run my life anymore. That was the moment she broke. She lunged straight at Tom, hands curled like claws. But before she could touch him, I swung my cane, blocked her, stopped her, pinned her back. Her eyes widened with disbelief. You should thank me, I said calmly. That swing was the gentle one. She gasped, stumbling backward toward the doorway. You're evil. Both of you. You've poisoned him. He'll regret this. He'll regret ever trusting you. I raised my chin. Funny. He said the same thing about you. Every time you lied to him. She choked on her own breath. I opened the door wide. Leave, I said quietly. She stared at tom.at me. Then she whispered, voice trembling. You'll come crawling back to me. You always do. Tom didn't flinch this time. No, he said. Not anymore. She let out a broken noise, a mix between a sob and a snarl, then stumbled out into the night. I shut the door behind her with a quiet click. And for the first time in his life, Tom exhaled freely. But peace would not last. Not when a lifetime of lies was collapsing. Not when a mother like her felt cornered. Not when revenge was still brewing. Because she would not go home quietly. She would not accept defeat. She would not let go of control. And what she would do next would make everything before this look like child's play. The moment the door clicked shut behind her, I could feel the storm she left behind. It hung in the air like leftover smoke after a fire, thick, bitter, and warning us that the flames weren't done. Tom didn't move for several seconds. He just stared at the door as if expecting it to explode inward again. Harlan slowly stepped toward him. Are you all right? Tom nodded, but it was an automatic nod, the kind a child gives when he's asked if he's okay after scraping his knee, even though he feels like crying. I'm processing, he whispered. You handled her better than anyone else ever has, I said, leaning on my cane. Trust me. That woman doesn't back down. Unless someone makes her. He huffed out a humorless laugh. You mean unless you make her? Well, I smirked. If she wants to pick a fight with a 61-year-old woman and lose, I'll allow it. That got another weak laugh out of him, and that was enough. For now. Harlan gestured toward the kitchen. Come sit. You look like you haven't eaten since morning. I haven't, Tom admitted. Harlan blinked. Did she feed you before all this? I snorted. She doesn't feed anyone. She rations guilt and calls it dinner. Harlan shook his head in disbelief. She's the same. Even after all these years. Tom suddenly frowned. Wait, how long were you two together? Before I was born. Harlan leaned against the counter, thinking. We met when we were both 25. Dated for about a year. Your mother was fiery. Beautiful, yes. But controlling. Everything had to be her way. I thought it was passion. Turns out it was obsession. Tom's eyes softened with something like pity mixed with recognition. She still is. Everything has to be exactly the way she wants it. If not, she loses it. Then his voice cracked. She almost hit me once. Because I refused to cancel a work shift. Harlan's jaw tightened. If I had known. You didn't, I cut in. And now that you do, we fix it from here. Tom nodded slowly. But the moment his shoulders relaxed, I felt something shift outside. A tingling at the back of my neck. A sixth sense women my age develop. The instinct that danger is close. I walked to the window and drew the curtain aside. There it was. Her car. Parked diagonally across the street. Headlights off. Engine running. She was watching the house. Waiting. Harlan came up behind me. Is that? Yes, I said. She didn't go home. Tom's face drained of color. What is she doing? What she always does, I said. Trying to control. Trying to gather strength. She's calculating her next move. Tom swallowed hard. Should we call someone? Not yet, I said. Let her think she has the upper hand. Let her think we're scared. Are we? Tom whispered. No, I said firmly. But she needs to believe we are. He stared at me with something new. Trust. Real trust. She won't stop, will she? He asked. Not until everything she built on lies collapses, I said quietly. And when people like her feel their lies slipping, they get desperate. Tom wrapped his arms around himself. What if she tries something? She will, I said. And that's when we take back your life. For the next hour, we pretended not to notice her watching. We talked. Harlan cooked. Tom asked questions about his father's life. I helped fill in the missing years. Stories his mother never told him, memories she erased, truths she buried. For the first time, the two men were stitching together a connection that should have happened decades ago. But every few minutes, I checked the window. Her car didn't move. Not an inch. And each time I looked, she was gripping the steering wheel tighter. Her silhouette was rigid, unblinking, unmoving, like a predator waiting for prey to slip. Harlan noticed my glances. Do you think she'll come back to the door? No, I said. She won't get rejected twice. Her ego won't allow it. Then what will she do? Tom asked nervously. I turned from the window and locked eyes with him. She'll wait until she thinks we're vulnerable. Then she'll force something big. Something theatrical. Something emotional. Something designed to pull you back. Tom shivered. Like what? Like hurting herself, I said quietly. Or pretending to. Their faces went pale. She wouldn't, Tom whispered. I raised an eyebrow. You've lived with her for 25 years. Think carefully. Tom closed his eyes. Then he whispered. She would. Around midnight, her move came. The headlights flickered on. Her door opened. She stepped out, staggering slightly, not from alcohol, but from her own emotional frenzy. She clutched something in her hand. A phone. She lifted it. A bright flash lit up the street. Then another. Then another. What is she doing? Tom breathed, peering out the window beside me. I sighed. She's staging. Staging what? Harlan asked. A breakdown, I said. The kind she can post online or send to Tom to make herself look like a victim. Moments later, Tom's phone vibrated violently. He hesitated. Should I answer it? I said. On speaker. He did. His mother's voice came through instantly, breathless, shaking, drenched in performative misery. Thomas, please. I need you. Something's wrong with me. Tom flinched at the sound. Harlan clenched his jaw. I stayed calm. What do I say? Tom whispered. Nothing, I said. Wait. We listened. More gasping. More theatrics. More manufactured distress. Then, Thomas, if you don't come home right now, I don't know what I'll do. I tapped him lightly. Now speak. Calm. Firm. Tom swallowed and said, Mom, stop. I know what you're doing. There was a beat of silence. Sharp. Cutting. Then she screamed. Not angry. Not sad. Something far more dangerous. You are choosing them over me. Tom closed his eyes, but he didn't crumble. No, he said. I'm choosing myself. She let out a guttural sound, half pain, half rage. Then maybe you'll be happier without a mother, she shrieked. Then, a loud thud, followed by a groan. The phone line rustled violently as if she had fallen to the ground. Tom's face twisted in panic. Mom, what was that? Mom. Calm, I ordered. Don't fall for it. But what if? Look at me, I said, voice steel. She is doing what manipulators always do when they lose control. He swallowed. What? Playing dead. Harlan stared. You think she just threw herself on the pavement? No, I said. She lowered herself dramatically and pretended. Another groan came through the phone. Tom tensed. Mom, what happened? He asked. I fell, she sobbed. I'm alone. In the street. I think I hurt my leg. I raised an eyebrow. Her final fishing line. Tom hesitated. Then, slowly, he hung up. He was shaking. But he hung up. Harlan placed a hand on his back. You did the right thing. Tom exhaled shakily. It feels awful. That's how she keeps you, I said. Through guilt. His phone buzzed again. This time, she texted him. When he opened the message, he gasped. A photo. Her on the ground, on her side point, one hand clutching her leg. Tears smeared down her face. Harlan frowned. Does she look hurt? No, I said. She looks posed. Another text came in. I can't get up. Please help me. Tom's hands trembled. She's really trying to trap me, he whispered. I nodded. Because she knows you're close to breaking free. Then I straightened my back, slowly, intentionally, and pointed toward the door. Tom. He looked at me, confused. It's time, I said. For what? For you to see her lies from the outside. For the first time. We all walked out onto the porch. There she was. On the pavement. Moaning loudly. But when she saw us, she suddenly stopped moaning. Her eyes locked onto Tom. Then onto Harlan. Then onto me. And something snapped inside her. She realized we had watched her fall. She realized we weren't fooled. She realized the performance had failed. She stood up. Instantly. No limp. No pain. Nothing. Her face twisted with raw, unfiltered fury. You, she hissed at Tom. How dare you embarrass me like this? Tom stepped back. Harlan stepped forward. I didn't move. She pointed at me with a shaking hand. This is your fault. You've poisoned him like you poison everyone. You steal people. You turn them against their own families. You did it 30 years ago and you're doing it again. Harlan froze. Tom turned sharply. I felt a cold wave go through my chest. What do you mean, 30 years ago? Tom demanded. She blinked rapidly, realizing. Too late. She'd said something she shouldn't. He took a step toward her. What do you mean, Mom? She swallowed. Nothing. I didn't. No, he said firmly. Say it. She backed up. It wasn't. I didn't. And then she screamed. You ruin everything you touch, Gucci. Tom stepped between us. Mom, what did you mean about 30 years ago? She froze. Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted. I braced myself. Tom pressed harder. What did you mean? She cracked. I meant she destroyed my life long before you were born. Everyone went silent. Even the wind held its breath. Tom stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. Gucci, he whispered. What is she talking about? And that was when I realized. The past I had buried, the past I had believed gone, was about to rise from the grave. And the truth would change everything. Tom stood frozen between us, his eyes darting from his mother to me, confusion tightening his jaw. Harlan looked just as stunned, his arms crossed as though bracing for an earthquake. And honestly, that's exactly what was coming. His mother took a shaky breath, realizing she'd spoken too much. The panic in her expression sharpened, frantic, clawing for a lie quick enough to cover the one that had already escaped. Thomas, it's nothing, she stammered. Just old jealousy, old misunderstandings. You don't need to worry about it. Tom's voice hardened. Mom, tell me the truth. Her tongue darted across her lips. Nervous, calculating, desperate. I won't say it in front of her, she snapped, pointing at me like I was some kind of curse. You will, Tom insisted, stepping closer. Because I'm done living under half-truths. She flinched as though he'd slapped her. But Tom didn't back down this time. He wasn't the boy she could bend or guilt into quiet obedience. He was a man. She realized that too late. Her gaze snapped to me, burning with 30 years of resentment. You want the truth, Thomas, she spat. Fine. Her chest rose and fell sharply as she forced the confession out. Your father and I didn't break up because he abandoned me. We broke up because of her. Tom blinked. Guji. Yes, she shrieked. She ruined everything. She inserted herself into our lives, manipulated him, and ripped him away from me. I stepped forward, leaning on my cane. That is not what happened. And you know it. Her mouth twisted. Shut up. No, I said softly. You shut up. You've controlled the narrative for decades. Tonight, you don't get to twist it. Tom turned to me, eyes wide. Guji. What happened? The memory pulled at me like a thorn in deep skin. I tried to bury it. Move past it. But the past has a way of clawing its way back when the truth is needed most. I inhaled slowly. Your parents were not separated when I met your father, I said. They were already breaking apart. Your mother refused to accept it. She couldn't live with the idea of someone rejecting her. His mother scoffed. Lies. No, I said. You know it's the truth. Tom looked torn. His breathing quickened. What happened exactly? I locked eyes with him. Your father came to me, I said. Not the other way around. He was exhausted, trapped in a relationship built on threats and guilt. I told him to leave her respectfully. To be honest. To give her closure. Tom's mother let out a hysterical laugh. Closure? He left me pregnant. You call that closure? Tom went pale. Pregnant? With me? Her voice dropped to a whisper. A dangerous whisper. With you, she said. Silence settled like fog. Tom grabbed the porch railing. Dad knew. He knew you were pregnant. Yes, she hissed. And he still left. Harlan's face went sheet white. You never told me you were pregnant. She turned on him. You didn't want me. You didn't want commitment. You said you weren't ready for a family. That's not true, Harlan snapped. I begged you to go to therapy. I begged you to stop screaming every day. I begged you to get help. She snarled. You're lying. All of you are lying. But Tom was staring at her like he'd never seen her before. Mom. His voice trembled. Did you tell Dad I wasn't his? Her eyes widened in horror, caught. Tom swallowed. Answer me. I told him. She stammered. Back then I said maybe you weren't his, but I only said it because he hurt me. Tom froze. The night air froze with him. You told him I might not be his child? She reached out for him. Thomas, please. He jerked back with such force she nearly fell forward. You weaponized me, he whispered. It was a mistake, she choked. I was scared. You used me, he said louder. You used my existence to punish him. And she encouraged him to leave, she screamed, pointing at me again. She told him to run, to abandon me when I needed him. I tightened my grip on my cane. I did no such thing. I told him to stay if he loved you. He told me he didn't. He said he was scared of you. Tom flinched hard. His mother's eyes filled with venom. You ruined everything, Guji. You think you're a saint, but you destroyed a family. No, I whispered. You did. The hatred in her eyes was feral, trembling, losing control. You're a lonely old woman, she spat. Nobody wanted you. Not then. Not now. I felt a small smile tug at my lips. Not out of joy, out of pity. Maybe, I said. But at least I never weaponized a child to keep a man trapped. That broke her. She lunged. Tom gasped and moved instinctively, but not toward her. Toward me. He stepped between us so fast she slammed into her own son instead of her target. He held her back with an outstretched hand, not violently, but with a boundary she had never allowed before. Stop, he said. His voice was different. Calm. Firm. Unshakable. Mom, I love you, he said softly, but I'm done being your prisoner. She stared at him, mouth open, stunned, as if she couldn't fathom a world where her son told her no. You're choosing them, she whispered. You're choosing Guji? A woman who hated me. I shook my head. I didn't hate you. I feared what you were becoming. I feared what you'd do to your child. I feared the day you would break him. Tom swallowed hard. She didn't break me, Guji. You did. His mother backed up like she'd been shot. Then she trembled, shoulders shaking uncontrollably, as tears streamed down her cheeks. I did everything for you, she whispered. Everything. I gave up my life. My youth. I sacrificed everything. And you repay me like this. Her voice grew shrill. You ungrateful boy. You should thank me for raising you after your father walked out. You should thank me for every meal, every sacrifice. You owe me everything. Tom shook his head slowly. I don't owe you my life, he whispered. I don't owe you my freedom. I don't owe you the right to control me. She stared at him, shaking, 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 until her anger cracked. The fury vanished, replaced by fear. Real fear. The realization that she no longer owned him. That he no longer danced to her strings. That her power, her lifelong weapon, was gone. She whispered, Tom, don't leave me. For the first time, it wasn't a demand. It was a plea. A real one. But Tom took a step back. Harlan put a hand on his shoulder. I watched them both, father and son, suddenly standing in unity she could never destroy again. Tom's mother dropped to her knees on the pavement. I'm alone, she choked. I'm all alone. Tom's eyes softened, because he had a good heart, but he didn't move toward her. Instead, he said, You're not alone, Mom. But you need help. Real help. Therapy. Counseling. Something. Because this is not love. She shook her head violently. No therapy. That's for broken people. Tom whispered, Mom, you are broken. And that's okay. But you have to fix it. She sobbed, curling into herself. And for the first time in his life, Tom walked away from her without guilt. He entered the house. Harlan followed him inside. And I stayed on the porch, watching her. She lifted her head, eyes red and wild, staring at me with a wounded, trembling hatred. You win, she whispered. You've always won. I shook my head softly. No, I said. I never wanted to win. I only wanted the truth to stop hiding. Her lip quivered. Will he ever forgive me? She choked. I looked down at her, this woman who spent her whole life building a cage, only to find herself trapped inside it. That, I said gently, depends on what you do next. She didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe for a long moment. And then she finally whispered, I don't know how to be better. I nodded once. That's the first honest thing you've said all night. Her shoulders slumped. And something in her eyes changed. Not healing, not redemption, but recognition. Recognition that she was no longer the center of her son's universe. Recognition that she could no longer bully, manipulate, or guilt her way through life. Recognition that she would either change or be left behind. After several minutes, she stood shakily and walked to her car without looking back. She drove away slowly, headlights trembling across the road. Inside, I found Tom sitting at the kitchen table, head in his hands. Harlan sat beside him silently. I placed a gentle hand on Tom's shoulder. "You did it," I whispered. "You broke free." He looked up at me with tear-filled eyes. "I feel guilty, and relieved, and scared, all at once." "That means you're human," I said softly. "And this is the beginning of your real life." He exhaled shakily. "Do you think she'll get help?" "That's her choice," I said. "Not yours. Not anymore." Tom nodded slowly. Then he looked at Harlan, really looked at him, and said, "I want to get to know you. If you'll let me." Harlan's voice cracked. "There's nothing in this world I want more." As they embraced, something warm spread through my chest. Something like pride. Something like peace. For the first time in decades, the past finally stopped chasing us. The lies stopped poisoning us. The truth stood bright and unbroken. And the family that had been shattered before it even began, finally had a chance to rebuild. Not perfect. Not wrapped in a neat bow. Not magically healed. But real. Honest. Free. When I stepped outside later that night, the street was quiet. Her car was gone. Her screams were gone. Her shadow no longer loomed over the house. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe. I looked up at the sky, dark, calm, forgiving, and whispered to myself, "It's over." But I knew better. The truth was, it was only just beginning.